I will absolutely not vote for you. There's not a world in which I could support you. I can't believe you have been nominated. So if Title IX is interpreted to protect women's sports, biological women playing sports with other biological women, it's unconstitutional?
It's a very important issue.
You think that bathroom designation, same with locker rooms, I guess, girls' locker rooms impermissible? Biological men have to be permitted into girls' locker rooms, involving Title IX, biological sex, challenges to locker rooms, girls' sports, bathroom bills. All of those things are covered in this article that you wrote while you were a sitting judge.
What's up, Patriots? Welcome back to the channel where we stand for truth, freedom, and the values that built this great country. Today, we're diving into one of the most disturbing hearings I've seen in a while. Senator Josh Hawley absolutely exposed a Biden judicial nominee, Judge Wise, for her insane and frankly un-American positions. If you haven't seen the video yet, don't worry, I'll break it all down for you. And trust me, this one will have you shaking your head. Let's get into it.
So, as I understand it, you don't think that there really is any clear-cut distinction between male and female as biological categories. Is that correct?
That is not correct.
That's what you wrote.
Sorry. That is not correct.
Well, that's what you wrote. Look, I'm reading your article, your Time Magazine article. Just to be clear, you wrote this while you were a sitting judge, 2017? You were on the bench?
That is correct, after a case I had.
Right. So, interesting choice to be writing opinion pieces about your cases. But in any event, you say that controversial pieces of legislation enacted in the last 2 decades rely on a clear-cut interpretation of sex, what I just asked you. But you say that that's wrong. In fact, gender is an intricate continuum and not 2 tidy boxes. That's what you say. So have you changed your opinion? You just gave me a different answer.
I believe that generally speaking, there are 2 sexes, male and female, that are designated by a doctor at birth, and that applies to the vast majority of people.
But that laws that are based on that distinction are impermissible. That's what you say in this article. Is that correct? That's still your view?
That is not what I say.
Really? You say that if there is, for instance, a law that requires a distinction between male and female in bathrooms, that the judges cannot apply that law with any consistency, can't apply it consistent with equal protection. There are no, what is it? It's virtually impossible for judges to consistently apply a law that permits or prohibits conduct based on whether someone is a man or a woman. So all bathroom laws that require biological sex, that designate bathrooms based on biological sex, are impermissible?
That is not the position that I took in the article.
That's what it says. It's impossible for judges to consistently apply a law that permits or prohibits conduct based on whether someone is a man or a woman. And you specifically cite bathroom laws as an example of this. In fact, you criticize the then Trump administration's designation of gender-based bathrooms. Right? Sounds like you made up your mind on a lot of things, but I just want to get clear on this because this is an important issue, certainly to people in my state.
It's a very important issue.
You think that bathroom designation, same with locker rooms, I guess, girls' locker rooms impermissible? Biological men have to be permitted into girls' locker rooms?
That is absolutely not what I said in my
That is
article.
absolutely the import and the takeaway of your piece. You suggest at least 3 different constitutional problems with any gender-based laws, including specifically bathroom laws. You write about it. Equal protection violation, due process, void for vagueness. I was making a list as I was reading through. You say that our biological variability means that a 2-bathroom, even 2-sex-based approach is inadequate. Judges cannot apply it. So if Title IX is interpreted to protect women's sports, biological women playing sports with other biological women, it's unconstitutional?
Senator.
That's a yes or no?
I was referring to the 5 babies born a day that doctors have challenges.
No, you wrote an article that is extremely broad that pronounces on a range of issues and pronounces quite definitively. What's this comment at the end of your article about The fact that judges must see the world through a secular lens, and when legislators blur the lines of church and state to enact laws that permit or prohibit conduct based on biological gender as only male or female, they place an impossible burden on the judiciary. What's that mean? That distinctions between male and female are a violation of church and state?
Judges have to be able to administer these laws if the direction, and I have to tell you, I work really hard to get it right, to do exactly what Congress tells me to do and the legislature tells me to do. And as a result, if a doctor finds it difficult to identify at the moment of birth for certain children.
Is a law that distinguishes between male and female a violation of church and state? You say when legislators blur the lines of church and state and enact laws that permit or prohibit conduct based on biological gender as only male and female, they place an impossible burden on the judiciary. So this is a First Amendment violation?
If what you are telling judges is that in order
I'm
to
not
make-
telling you anything. I'm reading you your comments, and I am asking you if you are still committed to these, and it sounds like you are. I have to tell you, I think these positions are insane. I think the idea that laws based on the distinction between male and female are a violation of church and state is insane. Totally insane. I think the idea that laws that would say women's locker rooms are protected from biological men, that those are impermissible, that's insane. But that's what you say in this article. You're going to have to recuse yourself in a lot of cases, aren't you? Will you recuse in every case involving biological sex if you are confirmed?
Senator, respectfully, that is not what the article says.
You have pronounced on all of these issues. Will you recuse yourself in any case involving Title IX, biological sex, challenges to locker rooms, girls' sports, bathroom bills? All of those things are covered in this article that you wrote while you were a sitting judge. Don't you think that was impermissible? Will you recuse? Let's get an answer to that.
Senator, your time is expired.
Will you recuse?
I did not take a position as to those issues that you have raised.
You took a position on all of these things, and your position is insane. Totally insane. I will absolutely not vote for you. There's not a world in which I could support you. I can't believe you have been nominated. And if you are confirmed, which I hope will not happen, you absolutely must recuse across all of these cases or stand in violation of the Code of Judicial Conduct. I'm shocked you're sitting here today.
Okay, first off, let me just say how grateful I am for leaders like Josh Hawley. This man doesn't back down. He asks the hard questions, and he doesn't let nominees like Judge Wise hide behind word games and political doublespeak. Now, let's talk about what happened here. Senator Hawley confronted Judge Wise about an article she wrote back in 2017. She was a sitting judge at the time. Let that sink in. A sitting judge writing opinion pieces about gender laws. That alone is questionable. But what's worse is what she wrote. She claimed that gender is not a clear-cut biological category, and she went on to criticize laws that distinguish between men and women, like bathroom laws and locker room policies. Now, patriots, let me ask you, how can someone who denies basic biology be trusted to interpret the law fairly? The answer is simple: they can't. Hawley read directly from her article, where she said it's virtually impossible for judges to consistently apply laws that distinguish between men and women. Let me repeat that: virtually impossible. So according to her, if we have laws that say men use the men's bathroom and women use the women's bathroom, judges can't enforce those laws. Excuse me, what? Are we living in clown world? Since when did common sense become controversial? Since when did it become crazy to say that biological men don't belong in women's bathrooms and locker rooms? I'll tell you when the radical left started pushing their woke agenda on the rest of us. And here's the thing, folks, Judge Wise had the audacity to deny everything. She kept saying, "That's not what I said," or "That's not what I meant." But Hawley wasn't having it. He quoted her article word for word. She wrote that these laws create an impossible burden for judges. She criticized the Trump administration's bathroom policies. She brought up constitutional issues like equal protection and due process. The bottom line is her views are clear. She believes that laws protecting biological women's spaces, bathrooms, locker rooms, sports teams, are unconstitutional. And she tried to dance around it, but Hawley wasn't letting her off the hook. Now, let's talk about the church and state nonsense she brought up. In her article, she claimed that laws distinguishing between men and women blur the lines between church and state. Are you kidding me? Since when is recognizing biological reality a religious issue? Look, I'm a Christian, and I believe God created us male and female. But you don't have to be religious to know that's just basic science. Biology isn't a matter of faith, it's a matter of fact. This is the problem with the left. They want to twist the Constitution to fit their agenda. They want to turn common sense into some kind of oppressive religious doctrine. They want to erase the differences between men and women, and they'll use any excuse to do it, even if it means misinterpreting the First Amendment. And you know what really gets me? Judge Wise acts like she's neutral, like she'll just follow the law. But how can she be neutral when she's already written an article saying these laws are unconstitutional? Hawley nailed it when he asked if she would recuse herself from cases involving Title IX, bathroom bills, or women's sports. Of course, she dodged the question. But we all know the answer. She wouldn't recuse herself. She'd rule based on her woke ideology, not the law. Patriots, this is why elections matter. This is why we must stand up and fight against the radical left's agenda. They're trying to stack the courts with activist judges who don't respect the Constitution, who don't respect science, and who don't respect the rights of women and girls. Can you imagine a world where biological men are allowed to compete in women's sports? Where your daughter has to share a locker room with a man? Where basic distinctions between men and women are outlawed? That's the world Judge Wise wants to create. And I, for one, won't stand for it. So here's what we need to do. First, call your senators and tell them to vote no on this nomination. Judge Wise has no business being on the bench. Second, share this video. Get the word out. People need to know what's at stake. And third, stay engaged. The left is relentless, but so are we. Together, we can protect our values, our families, and our country. Thanks for tuning in, Patriots. If you're new here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Let's keep fighting the good fight. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. I'll see you next time.